Firhill, Partick Thistle were looking for a win to give their promotion push an early jolt, and they almost got it thanks to Dundee's Billy Thompson, the veteran keeper making the easy look difficult. It was a day though when nerves often overcame skill. I'm not sure if Greg Watson was nervous or just complacent here with Tosh so close, but Mark Cairns in goal did well to put up that one. The former Thistle man came back to torment his old mate, winger Kevin McGee showing good pace and skills to get around Callum Milne. And Mark Cairns had to look lively there. A goalless first half then, and Thistle had the first opportunity to score in the second half. Gareth Evans beat Duffy for pace, and Thompson stood up well to the danger from the ex-Hibs striker. Here's tricky Kevin McGee for Jim Duffy's men again. Callum Milne can't have enjoyed facing him. McGee finds Jim Hamilton, and Mark Cairns, who's replaced Nicky Walker in the Thistle goal, just keeps it out. Dundee looking very useful in the break now. McGee again involved here. He gets the ball away from Jim Slavin and sets up Paul Tosh, and that was a close one. Well, this was probably the best chance of the game. Thompson's weak punch-out met by Evans and Tommy McQueen saving the jerseys. 0-0 at Maryhill.
Yeah, no goals there. Well, now, it's an important week ahead for Scotland's 4 clubs in...
By referee John Rowbottom. But as they headed up the tunnel, Craig appeared to punch Evans. After the match, police officers spoke to Jags boss Murdo MacLeod, the Falkirk chairman George Fulston and linesman Stephen Caney, who all witnessed the incident. But Central Scotland Police confirmed to Scotsport a short time ago they've received no complaint about the incident and they say they'll be taking no further action. Well, elsewhere, 3 out of 4... This one carries an X certificate, and you'll see immediately why. 20 seconds in, Paul Mathers goes down for it, and Gareth Evans very late in the tackle on the goalkeeper. But no yellow card. Thistle with a chance to score here. And again, it's Gareth Evans. This is a good effort. Just wide of the target. Thistle had the better of the first half. An opportunity here for Jared Sterling. Way off target. But then, 2 minutes into the second half and the deadlock was broken, but not many people realised at first. The header there from Paul McGrillen, did it cross the line? Referee Rowbottom said no. But then he noticed that the stand-side linesman was waving his flag. Play stopped, look at it again, comes off McGrillen, hits the underside of the bar but doesn't go over the line. But the linesman disagreed, and he said the goal stands. Now this is when things really began to hot up. Some disgraceful scenes here. The ball comes in. Mathers challenged there by Gareth Evans, and in fact Albert Craig kicking Evans. The Falkirk players involved in the Rammy. Now the 2 key players here, watch this. Late challenge and the kick going in there. The blue socks, that's Albert Craig on Gareth Evans. Both culpable, both have to be red carded. Evans was booked a few moments earlier for dissent. So, yellow and red card for Evans. Now the referee should have waited a few moments before sending off Craig. Look at this in the tunnel. Albert Craig, bang! Real trouble there in the tunnel. The linesman's on hand to see it. Police officers following in. Disgraceful scenes. Well, somehow the players managed to get back to the action. 10 against 10 and 2 real chances. Steve Maskew there, but easily held by Mathers. And Falkirk looking to open the gap to 2. And a great save there from goalkeeper Mark Cairns. Eventually, the danger cleared. In the dying moments, the Jags came oh so close to getting an equaliser. Steve Maskew through again, claims that he was impeded. The Jags looking for a penalty kick. Watch this one. Was that a penalty? Referee Rowbottom unhappy with Tommy Turner, who was complaining about the referee's lack of action. And referee Rowbottom, what an afternoon for him. He was in the headlines last season. He sent 3 off at Brockville.
Yes, well, quite a match there at Brockville. All for the wrong reasons. I wonder what Paul and the panel think about it. Paul, over to you.
Well, Jim, there have been thousands of calls about that match there. The incident with Albert Craig and Gareth Evans. Jerry, it's not the kind of thing we're looking for any time of the season, but especially in week 3.
Yeah, well, you know, after the Duncan Ferguson situation, you would think players had learned a lesson by now, and this is a serious issue. My understanding is that the Partick Thistle chairman, manager and Evans will meet at Firhill tomorrow. You see it quite clearly here, what happens. They will discuss this, but my understanding is they won't take it any further forward if the SFA act. Now, you're right to point out that there should have been a gap between the two players leaving the field, but the assistant referee, as he's known now, he's standing there allowing both players to go past him. He should have intervened and stopped the second player. That's what he's there to do. Instead, he's waving his flag in the air, you know, like somebody working in a railway station. If these guys are assistants, they've got to assist. Now, John Robotham has been involved in controversy last season at Ibrox and the Rangers-Aberdeen game. It seems to be following him about, but referees need some help as well.
Derek, it's madness. I mean, I suppose as a player, I know you get het up in a situation, but they'll just not be able to do that kind of thing now.
Well, it's crazy because players are being scrutinised by television, by police, by everyone, and it's not as if it's two kids that are involved there. They're two experienced players. I mean, Albert sprinted off the park after him. We just cannot do that. It was seen there. Let's hope that the SFA keep it within football. That's what we want to see.
Charlie, when will people learn?
Oh, God only knows when you see that, but it definitely has to be said, assistant referees now, you know, they've got to help people out. I mean, he's seen that coming from the other end of the park. They've ran 50 yards, he's at full pelt to go and get Gareth Evans. You know, he's got to take the bull by the horns really in that position and do something about it.
And Jerry, what about the goal? Paul McGrillen got the head to it. Do you think it went over the line?
No,
I didn't think so.
I don't think so. And again, it's the same assistant referee who's involved. It's Wembley 66 all over again, isn't it? No one's claiming the goal. Not even the Falkirk players. The subs were behind it.
Look at it here.
And I know that, one of the Falkirk subs has admitted, and he was in close proximity, it didn't cross the line. Now, the referee has not given it. He's away, but the assistant referee is running down the line again with the flag in the air, and the goal is given. It's a bad day.
Tonight news, the SFA are to use television evidence for the first time. The association's chief executive, Jim Farry, said today the mould had been broken after Scottish television pictures seemed to show Falkirk's Albert Craig punch Partick Thistle's Gareth Evans in the tunnel at Brockville. The SFA agreed last season to use television evidence if the case merited it, and the belief at Park Gardens is that Saturday's incident was indeed such a case. Problems off the park at the moment, but they were a determined side at Firhill on Saturday. A nice move here, let down by Stuart Taylor's finish. Stand-in skipper Stephen Watson put his side in front with this 9th-minute goal. No messing around for him. 15 minutes later, Steve Maskery cleaned through here. He opts to check inside, and Paul Fenwick judged to have brought him down. Tough decision, perhaps. Jim Dick certainly thought so, and he was booked for making that clear to the referee. Gerard Sterling's penalty, 1-1. It wouldn't be the First Division at the moment without a red card. Dick colliding there with Steve Maskery, and that's worth a second booking, says the referee. The St Mirren players were clearly furious. Dick himself was apoplectic. Nevertheless, off he went, and 1-1, the final score. Fiery stuff, but that's why we love it. That's it from the Sports Desk for tonight. Jim's back tomorrow. Louise.
Shy Partick Thistle side were desperate for their first win as they headed for St Johnstone. Now, before we see that game, here's the story of how Stirling
On to McDermott Park, where St Johnstone are tipped to be sitting at the top of the table come May. If they are, George O'Boyle will have a lot to do with it. The pull stopped him that time. Thistle have only scored once so far in Division 1, and that was a penalty scored by a defender. So rightly, there are a lot of questions being asked about their front men. Andy Lyons almost answered the critics that time. Those were the best chances of a quiet first half, and in the second 45 it was the Saints who had the bite up front. Roddy Grant set up O'Boyle, but Gerard Sterling and Cairns stifled at that time. Mark Cairns' Thistle goal was under siege at this point. Alan Preston had a blast, and he wasn't far away. With all this pressure, it wasn't a surprise that the Saints took the lead. What a nightmare for Jim Slavin. Slack with that header, allowing Roddy Grant to claim his 6th goal of the season so far. 1-0 St Johnstone. And towards the end, they made it 2-0. O'Boyle setting up Tosh. And it's 2-0. What a good day for Thistle. And Stephen Tosh, he puts St Johnstone to the top of the table.
top of the Bells First Division and condemns Thistle to the foot. It's tight at the top, though. Now it's a big...
first goal for Dunfermline against Partick didn't come until after an hour. It was Dave Bingham who got the final touch. The Premier League new boys were making heavy weather of their First Division opponents, and it wasn't until 10 minutes to go that Jerry Britton made sure of victory. When all's said and done, though, it's winning that counts.
I don't think we played particularly well tonight, but if there's one thing that Dunfermline does, it battles, and I think it was sheer battling qualities that got us through that one.
And the Scottish Football Association has revealed it will
and start playing again to help Thistle find some form. McLeod, whose 38th birthday is on Tuesday, has watched his team slide to the bottom of the First Division. This week's exit from the Coca-Cola Cup could force him back into action.
It was an unhappy irony for Thistle that one of their old boys kindly held open the Coca-Cola Cup exit door for them at East End Park this week. Jerry Britton's header touched on by David Bingham for Dunfermline's first, but Britton needed no help with the second. It was another defeat for Thistle, and now their boss is set to leave the dugout to help sort things out on the park.
I've played in a couple of friendly matches, I've played in pre-season, but it's getting to the stage I'm seriously contemplating to come back in. But again, you don't like leaving younger players out who hopefully will be the future of the club. But it might get to the stage I might have to come back and play.
How long would it take you to come to this decision to do it? Is it imminent?
Well, I've been thinking about it for a wee while. To be honest, I would only go in the park if I feel something to offer in the middle of the park, whether it's verbally and passing the ball, don't giving the ball away. I wouldn't just go on just for an ego trip. I'm 38 years of age. I wouldn't go on just for the sake of playing at Partick Thistle at that age. That doesn't interest me. As I say, if I feel I'm fit enough to go on and play and do a good job for Partick Thistle, that's the only way I'd go on and play.
As the boss contemplates a comeback, the fans wistfully hark back to former glories. It's 25 years ago that Thistle left Hampden with the League Cup on the team bus after a stunning 4-1 win over Celtic. It remains the club's greatest moment. But after being dumped out of the competition this week, it further highlights that these are changed days indeed for the club and for old boy Alan Rough.
Well, obviously, I think things have changed drastically in 25 years. The players we had then, we were all young players coming up with something to prove. We were all beginning with international careers. Some went on to England. And so I think Dave McParland had got a nucleus of a good pool together. And I think obviously the financial restraints in the club just now, we don't have that kind of player. But it's just a matter of everybody getting together and buckling down and helping Murdo out.
Financial restrictions are a fact of life. Goalkeeper Nicky Walker's £60,000 transfer fee went straight to the bank. And the club won't sign any free transfers either because they can't afford to pay another wage. Murdo accepts hard work's the only answer.
Well, a lot of times a lot of players will get it mentally that they're maybe too good for this league, and we've assured all the players that they're not too good for the league. They've got to come down here, they've got to scrap harder, and all credit to the teams that's been in the First Division. And I think you look at the ones that's been down over the last 2 or 3 seasons from the Premier League, the likes of Dundee, St Johnstone, they found it tough to get straight back up. Dundee United spent £2.5 million last year to get out the First Division. Finances aren't available to that sort of extent for any club in the First Division, so we've just got to get the right attitude and go and win matches.
Clydebank St Johnstone, Dundee East Fife, St Mirren Falkirk.
At Dens Park, Partick Thistle were looking to follow up their 6-0 defeat of East Fife with another win. And what a great start for them. David Moss pushes them ahead. 10 minutes on the clock. Jared Sterling fired in the cross. It hits off Kevin Bain, and David Moss puts the loose ball away. 1-0 the Jags. Into the second half now, and things getting worse for Jim Duffy's men. The Jags' second goal, a carbon copy of the first one, really. It's Sterling, Moss, and Thistle really motoring. They race into the lead 2-0. The Dundee defence doing their impersonation of a Rolling Stone. They gather no Moss, and David Moss puts them 2-0 up. 2 goals and plenty of puns.
Last met, but more red card action in this one.
Thistle are on a real goal-scoring run at the moment. Nicky Henderson got the first chance to open the scoring in this one, but Craig Nelson, the former Thistle keeper, kept him at bay. After that, the Jags didn't have to wait long for the opener, just seconds in fact. created by Billy McDonald. It took a deflection and finished off there by Charlie Adams. 11 minutes on the clock, and it's Thistle 1, Falkirk 0. Nasty wee deflection there, and 20-year-old Charlie Adams makes no mistake. Good finish. Well, the Bairns' chances of making a comeback really suffered at this point here. Paul McGrillen tangling with Billy.